Welcome back, guys. In today's episode, we are covering a bunch of different issues with Heather Maahs, including the BC Conservative Party leadership race, the Safe Access to Schools Amendment. She voted against the sport of politics, DRIPA and native land, and that issue happening here in BC, and ending with billion-dollar deficits. Hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Briefcase in the Barn. Your two favorite armchair quarterbacks. Produced by the Furiously Curious Company, episode 92 with Gary Baars and myself, Kyle Ruitenburg. Today we've got a very special guest, our local MLA, which stands for Member of the Legislative Assembly here in British Columbia, Heather Maahs. She represents the area where we live, known as Chilliwack North, and is a member of the Conservative Party of BC. And right now, the Conservative Party is in the middle of a leadership race to choose its next leader. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that actually affects this province. So I'm very excited you took the time to come on the show. Welcome.
My pleasure. Very happy to be here.
No worries. I'm just going to move your mic a little closer.
Okay. I can actually.
can
I'm going to move my chair a little closer too.
Yeah.
Oops.
Nice. All good.
When is the leadership vote?
The leadership vote is between May 9th and May 30th.
Okay.
May 9th and May 30th.
Why over? Because there's so many rounds of voting potentially? It takes that much time or
Well,
or
because
the decision doesn't come out until May 30th is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, the decision comes out May 30th, but what they have to do is they have to orchestrate the voting. Because oftentimes I didn't mean that.
You know what?
So no.
Fulmer, we did an orchestration here.
No. So they have to figure out how everybody's going to vote. So
It's ranked, right? It looked like it was ranked, and that actually really
it
matters.
is ranked.
Yeah.
But also so I'm not sure if it's going to be live or not. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But anyway, so there was talk about you take a picture of yourself, take a picture of your ID, scan it, and then send it in
To make sure that there's no fraud
and then
going on.
yeah, and then you vote like you're a member. They'll check you off, and so all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so I mean,
How many members are there?
More
well,
and more every day,
yesterday they posted that there are now 30,000
Oh, wow.
BC Conservatives.
How many is that comparative to what would have been in past
A
elections?
fraction for the BC
Well,
Liberals.
we were.
Because it's a brand new party, right?
Oh yeah, BC Liberals. Well, they're pretty much flat. I actually don't even know if they still have. I guess they must have membership still, but we have more members than any other party.
Oh, really?
More than
in
the
BC.
NDP?
I think so. I think that's what I
Okay,
read.
Okay.
I don't know. Check.
Okay, we'll
fact check me.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of fact checking
Yeah,
that happens
yeah.
on this show, and
Yeah.
mostly we're called liars.
There's such thing as facts? Is there absolute truth?
We don't want them to be subjective. But I think
Okay.
I think before we started, there was between 7,000 and 8,000 members.
Yeah.
So this is huge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What did you do before you're an MLA?
I was a school trustee for 16 years on the
In Chilliwack?
famous Chilliwack School Board.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, fortunately.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It was good. You know what? I mean, I think Chilliwack kind of blew up the narrative on the whole SOGI 123 learning resource with Barry calling it out, and the rest is history. Historic history.
Okay.
And I guess there's another by-election for that open position since Lori Thonis resigned,
No.
or is there another election coming soon?
No, there's a municipal election coming
In October.
This October.
Okay.
Yeah, this October.
Quick note, though, on the Furiously Curious Company. Besides the coaching, we do recruiting and help connect employers and employees who value faith, family, and freedom. And I had someone reach out to me this week that said, hey, I know someone looking for a job, and how much do you charge for that? And I'm like, if you're looking for a job, you don't pay anything. It's the employers that pay. So, but yeah, there was a candidate that reached out that has 6 years of experience in purchasing and inventory vendor coordination, reporting, basically someone who keeps the back end of your business running properly. So very detail oriented, organized, strong in Excel, customer service experience, and she's looking for a full-time office position that's around 24 to 28 per hour. So if you know someone, or if you're a business owner that needs that kind of person, reach out to me. And then on the hiring side, I'm also looking for a automotive technician in service tech in Abbotsford, heavy duty mechanic, and a certified electrician. So if you are looking for a good job, working for a good family, faith, and freedom-based company, reach out and get you connected.
So Chilliwack supporters that are listening to this, some local people that listen, take a stand. If you feel the calling or the conviction, or run. Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to say. Like if you feel like you have the capacity, it's a pretty important role. If your kids are going to a public school and you think, hey, this is important to me. It's really interesting, right? Because in the sphere we live in, and I've talked to politicians on both sides of the aisle about this, like it's very, like public education and private schools and homeschooling is very polarizing for a lot of people. To me, it's just like, whatever, if you want to homeschool,
Right.
if you want to send your kids to public school. So
education is education.
Yeah. And obviously everybody has a bent, and you could have a private school teacher that's a horrible teacher and teaching your kids a lot of crazy things. So it's not that black and white, I guess, in my mind.
No, it's not. And I don't think, I think all because your kids are homeschooled or you're enrolled in a private school, that shouldn't be a reason for you not to run for school trustee. Because, I mean, let's face it, kids in the public school and kids in private schools, and maybe they live in the same neighborhood and they all play together.
We're all doing life together.
And that's right. Exactly.
They're all going to end up becoming working members of our society. We should all care about what's being taught in a public school. I think it is ideal if they would go to a public school, if I had to be honest. I could see that it would be challenging. Like obviously a lot of great people ran, and maybe yourself included,
well, sure.
But I feel like...
But some people use both. Some people use
totally. Our kids'
all
school is
kinds
a great
of things,
example
right?
of that.
Some people are homeschooled plus, I mean, even for myself, I homeschooled one of my kids at the same time. He was back and forth in the public system and homeschooling.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Okay.
They're not kids anymore.
No, they're all adults.
They're all grown
young
ups.
adults, yeah. Beyond young adults, actually.
That's right.
Yeah. Interesting.
So last time we chatted, you hadn't put your support behind any of the candidates yet for the Conservative Party here in BC. Has that changed?
It has.
Yeah, yesterday or the day before I saw
it. Has, yes.
Who did you support?
So I decided that I would support Carrie Lynn Finley.
Okay.
For the leader. I did a video with her on, I don't know what day it was, Wednesday maybe. Yeah. So
why did you pick her?
Well, I
Is that because you guys go out for seniors discount together at the local restaurant? Or?
Very funny. But we could.
I digress.
So of all the candidates, I found that she has the most experience. She is a lawyer, and she served under Stephen Harper.
That's why I recognize the name. It's a pretty well-known name.
Yeah.
She was an MP for a lot of years.
14 years.
A federal MLA.
No, MP.
Federal
MP.
Yeah, member of parliament. Yeah. So, the condition that this province is in right now, every sector is in crisis. So we want somebody at the helm who has experience and knowledge and the ability to
Stepping back away from that, you would agree that there's quite a few great candidates running, would you not?
Absolutely.
Okay, I haven't done probably near as much due diligence as you have, but looking at the race, I'm like, there's nobody there that I'm like, oh, this would be an unmitigated disaster or would you put somebody in that camp where you're really struggling with, this is not my, I guess I view them all as like, here's one thing that I was talking to somebody this morning saying that you were going to be on the podcast today. Great guy. And he was like, is she really as conservative as Heather as conservative as she seems, or is she just pandering to the people in her life? I'm like, no,
can't make anybody happy.
Well, it was more like, well, first of all, I know your character, and I know that you've taken a lot of bullets in the front and the back for trying to stand on truth. So I have a lot of respect for you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think on the flip side of that, hey, people are on the human being tour. And it's fascinating in the culture we live in, the cancel culture, and the idea of like, if you go one time a little too far one direction, on either side, especially once people have you in a box, they say, hey, Heather's the most conservative candidate. We're so thankful she's our MLA. And then the next day you say something that's maybe a little more gracious or a little more nuanced, and now they're just writing you right off. And I'm seeing that in this campaign. One of the things I'm seeing a lot of from people that are very conservative. They're saying they're right away trying to peg people as like a BC United / BC Liberal.
Right.
I'm like, guys, we need the whole tent.
Right.
Like, would you agree? We need to bring in, like, even after this race is done, this leadership race, let's be gracious and realize that whether it's, Caroline or Martha, or whoever the people are, we need to convalesce under a tent here and be a united front.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you
And
would
absolutely.
Okay.
So in every single party, and I don't think this is anything new. I think you're always going to have so I would characterize our party right now, our caucus, every single person is fiscally conservative.
That
Everyone.
one thing you have in common for sure.
Every single one.
That's a great example.
And then you're going to have, different levels of the social conservative piece.
Very, very broad swath, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is people do not like that.
Right.
And people don't like it on either side.
Right.
And so that's where I was going off with my friend this morning, where it's like, it's so frustrating to me because I think, and this is what people don't understand about politics, which I'd be interesting to hear your perspective. But when you're elected into that role, you're basically, you have to represent everybody in Chilliwack, and you have more than that spectrum in Chilliwack.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You're out meeting and greeting people all the time. Some of them probably really disagree with where you stand on social issues, but you're still representing them. You still care what they think. They're still right. So I feel like when you have this in your own party, and now because you have basically, the Dallas team that's way over there, and then you have other people that would land in a more social conservative camp, but not that camp. And then you have people way over on the left that are just like, hey, I'm fiscally conservative. I'm sick of the spending. Yeah. Please allow me to be in your tent. But they're obviously really, so I'm wondering, how do you get people on the same team in the conservative?
Well, I'm not running for leader, so that's not my job.
Yeah, but you can see the struggle.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's always there. And I think it's the age-old struggle. I mean, you look at Laurie Thronis when he was part of the BC Liberals, and he was a very social conservative.
But very gracious and very well spoken.
Oh, so
good
gracious.
Grief. He can't survive in a party?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think, it's the leader. It's the leader who can navigate it. And when Andrew Wilkinson tossed him out, that was terrible.
Yeah, that was it was a mistake. It was the beginning of the end. It's fascinating that we're actually having this conversation.
Right?
Yeah. And
so, I mean, he'd been an MLA for 7 years, and he'd been he serves a valuable voice. And so, yeah.
So on that note, I feel like we
steam.
should play that video clip Heather played for us before the show.
Yeah.
Because it ties in pretty nicely.
So this is a clip.
Sure.
Who is this in this clip?
This is, so I'll give you a little background on this now. So, recently, we had a vote in the House on the safe access to schools amendment. And what the amendment was to extend that policy by 2 years. And I looked at that and I thought, no way, I am not voting in favor of that. And there was a few of us who we chatted about it, but because I was a school trustee.
Why would you not vote in favor of it?
So because I was a school trustee, here's the context. I was a school trustee when they enacted that policy or that act. And so was Cork Neufeld. And we know that was put in place right after the 1 million person march against the learning resource SOGI 123. And so what they wanted to do was prevent parents
from speaking out on school grounds, anybody from protesting anything they disagreed with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not crazy people, parents.
Exactly. And it could, you can be protesting anything. You can be protesting busing changes. You can be protesting boundary changes for your kids' schools. So anyway,
it's quelching free speech is basically what it's doing. Correct me if I'm wrong.
100%.
I could tell just from the way that the video
100%.
was. Yeah, okay,
and it also, to me, that flies right in the face of our charter, the Canadian Charter of Freedoms and Rights.
Play the clip.
Right? So we voted against it.
And then this is an MLA that's speaking off?
And this is Ravi Parmar, who is the Ministry of Forests. And interestingly, he actually speaks from his desk with his Ministry of Forests logo behind him. So that's not really cool. But anyway, so I just hit play?
Yeah, just hit play. Just put it by the mic there.
Just play it by the mic.
We'll put it on the screen.
We'll put it later. We'll patch it in later.
Okay. Oh, my sound.
You gotta hit the...
What's that? Here.
There are many days where I am so proud to be sitting as part of a government because I'm looking across the way at the BC Conservatives and just seeing absolute bat crazy MLAs. You got two crazy MLAs in Heather Maahs and Corky Neufeld who voted against a piece of legislation. All of their colleagues voted in favor of it, but these two MLAs voted against a piece of legislation that would stop protesters from protesting on the grounds of our schools. Imagine you're walking your kindergartner to school and you see a bunch of people protesting, banging on windows. That happened here in British Columbia. We put a stop to it. We introduced legislation and we're extending that legislation to keep our schools safe from crazy people like Heather Maahs and Corky Neufeld. They stand with protesters who want to dismantle our education system and turn this into a circus. We're going to always stop them every single day.
Wonder what the definition of crazy is.
I'm for sure crazy.
And then, of course, we have this nice logo. Whoops.
Whoa.
Anyway.
What I have issue with is that clip, and I see this happening on the Conservative side and the Liberal side, is that you vilify the other side. Or dehumanize them because they have a certain belief and they vote a certain way, and you don't actually have a dialogue anymore about how the person got to that belief. And so then you can just make a little clip like that, which shows up on everyone's reels, and they come to a conclusion with that, and it doesn't help.
No.
Like I'm sure that if I had lunch with David Eby, or if you go on vacation with him like Gary does, or anybody else, even like someone like Trudeau, I'm sure we could have a respectful conversation. And I often say to people, if someone, for example, in the Conservative circles I come from, I think sometimes there's a fear around like liberal people and like someone that has pink hair or something else like that. And I'm like, wait a minute here. Like that person didn't just get there in a vacuum. There was a series of events that happened.
For sure didn't come out of the womb like that.
That's true. But there's a series of events that happened to us in our life to where we get to a certain viewpoint. And so if we want to change someone's mind, forcing them, it never works, right? Mm-hmm. You have dialogue and conversation, and that's how you get somewhere. That's why you need to have freedom of speech. Otherwise, how can you think through something? And that really bugs me. And I see it happening on both sides, and it's frustrating because I'm sure Ravi Parmar, as his name is, like if we sat down, but I think it also gets used as, it's also powerful, right? You can get, clicks, votes.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, we had just, the House also just implemented a safe access to churches bill. And that one is to answer the anti-Semitism that's been going on. And I spoke to that in the House, and I said, well, I understand the intent, which is good.
What is the intent?
So it's the same as the safe access to schools. So it's keeping
protecting children,
protesters
away from churches.
The only trouble is the Jewish community spends $100,000 a month on security. And same as the safe access to schools, simply changing where people can stand isn't going to stop a terrorist. It would not have stopped what happened in Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah.
And it's not stopping the churches from being burnt down in this country.
No, it's not.
So, I mean, we voted in favor of the safe access to churches because it's okay. It's
who brought forward the bill? They did?
The NDP, yeah.
Okay.
It's something.
So sorry, can I clarify a point here? You how often would you vote with a bill that they bring forward? That would not be that common, would it?
It's more common than you would think.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. That doesn't make the news.
No, that does not make the news.
No.
Sorry, that totally caught me off guard. I thought as the official opposition, we are such trained sealed that we vote for any bill that comes up from the other. We vote against any bill from the other party.
No, so here's how.
That's encouraging.
The way it works is that, so we have first reading.
Yeah.
That's contentious too, because we all voted in favor of the banning the human rights, and so everybody got all crazy over that. But we have a policy now in the Conservative Party that we vote yes on first reading of everything, no matter what it is.
Okay, explain this to me, because even me being in BC, that like goes over my head a little bit. So there's a first reading at the first time a proposed bill gets read.
Yeah.
And what are the different stages?
Well, so the title of the bill is what you see on the order papers. So you go in and you don't really know what it is. Then the person introducing it gives a brief description, which may not give you any more
detail.
information. And so first reading just puts it on the floor.
Okay.
And but there have been instances where the NDP in particular started opposing bills that Dallas Brody and Tara Armstrong and Jordan Keeley were bringing to the House. And so they were just voting them down on first reading. But our policy is no, I'm going to vote in favor of any bill, because if I don't, then I'm technically, or I could be removing my ability to speak for or against it in the House if it's not going to be read. So, and that's not democracy. So then second bill is when
Or second reading.
Or sorry, second reading is when they you debate. And so
there's no debate even on the first. There's no discussion even hardly. It's literally
there's
just a
nothing.
brief
Yeah,
overview.
it's just like put it out there. Yeah.
Okay.
And so then you have debate. And so that's when usually we have 30 minutes. They allow a certain amount of time to speak to it, and then we have up to 30 minutes to speak.
Everybody
for
would have had
or
it.
Against
everybody would have had it emailed to them at that point. Everybody would know fully what all the fine details of this bill are, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As soon as you know that there's a bill, this is how it works.
Okay.
This is the process.
Okay.
And so then after the allotted amount of time, there's a vote. Oftentimes what happens is, after the debate, it goes to the committee process. And in the committee process, that's where you can make amendments.
Okay.
That's where you can ask them lots of questions and speak to it like back and forth. Whereas the first part is just talking.
So now when we say bills, just so people that are very not aware of politics and how it works, those are laws. And that's why politics matter. People that there's people that listen to this that don't even vote because they're just like, it's totally useless.
Yeah.
They don't understand that literally how we live our lives in this country come from people like you that are hashing it out in some weird building in our capital. And then you get to those committees where changes can be made. It does matter. So that's why I'm passionate about it. You would agree. Yeah. So
it matters.
what percentage of bills make it to this committee stage? Do you know? Like, it'd be way less than half would ever make it even to the committee's past second reading, right?
No, most of them do.
Well, they do.
Well, don't forget they have a majority.
Well, any NDP.
And so really, they can shut ours down.
Which happens nonstop.
And it does happen.
Yeah.
How often do bills that you guys bring forward while they have a majority get passed?
We actually have historically now passed 2 bills. As of this last week, we passed 2 bills. And the last one we just passed was a bill to give firefighters the medical, because firefighters are at risk for cancer, lots of cancers from all the nasty stuff they inhale when they're fighting fires. And so they didn't have all the medical entitlements that they should have had, and now they do because of that bill. And that was brought forward by Miss Steve Van Popta in Langley.
Okay.
And the one before that was a bill on, it was on, I can't remember. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
So going back to this bill with about the one that you voted against.
Oh, right.
You want to finish explaining what happened there?
I can't remember where we were.
So you were in I think it was the first reading you were saying that it went to, and
the safe access to schools.
Yeah.
Right.
And she voted against it the whole way through.
So Corky and I voted against it in the final reading. The
How many
third
readings? Are there
reading.
3?
Third
Okay.
reading. We
Okay.
voted against it. Now, oftentimes when a bill is being passed, the committee chair will just come to the speaker and say, I'm reporting in this bill. We have completed it. No amendments. We're done. That's when everybody votes. But only the people who are in the House vote. And all the MLAs are not in the House at that time.
Only for confidence votes they would be.
And so,
Yeah.
well, no. So there's a voice vote. So all those in favor, aye. Those opposed, nay. And so then the speaker will call it. Sometimes, most of the time, there's no nay. Most of the time, it's aye. But if there's nay, then whoever is saying nay, whichever side it is, can call division. And if they call division, that means everybody's coming into the House and everybody's
too
voting
close to
on
call,
it.
they would say.
That's right. And so that's when it's a standing vote. And so that's when you got to stand up and say, I oppose, or
We
I'm
didn't
in
have a
favor.
standing vote on that bill because there's just 2 of you yelling nay.
No, there was. No, that was a standing vote. That ended up being a
Why?
standing vote because somebody yelled nay. And so then the other side called division because they wanted to see who called nay.
So
that's how it works,
That's
right?
awesome. It's savage. I love politics.
And
it's
so
dirty.
then that's why Ravi Parmar, that's why
He
the
just
likes
went
of
off
Ravi
on you.
Parmar
Went
will
off
make
on
a
you.
video about me, calling me when
low
he called me.
hanging fruit too.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
And so that's how they
So you had
take
a lot
their
of
pot shots.
a lot of colleagues though that voted in favor of this. That would also still be against SOGI as well. That
Of
would have been
course.
okay with all these parents protesting a bunch of years ago. So that seems like at odds with each other.
So for the most part, my colleagues don't have the breadth of experience that I did and Corky did, because both of us were trustees for 16 years.
Okay.
And so we saw it all. And so they just like, yeah, we want safe access to schools.
Well,
Yeah,
that's how
a
it's
good
sold.
thing.
That's what, and it is. So we would
Right?
agree with that. So that's why,
Right?
that's why it's how you spin things matters so much. And
Exactly.
it's so complicated to be, it's so easy to paint you in that
Sure.
Yeah. crazy, whatever words he used.
Woo.
But you run into these people in the halls of Parliament, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you run into Ravi. Are you able to have like just one-on-one discourse with these
We're
people?
like, hey, how's it going? Nice day. Yeah, we're gonna go outside and have coffee. Okay, see you later.
But if I was
That's literally how it is.
yeah, so if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, Ravi, come in my office. Like, I seen that video you made last week.
Yeah.
Like, this is taking just pot shots that don't make sense, and that this isn't
Yeah.
who I am. Like, or is that just a game? Is that just
It's
expected?
it's a game. It you know what? I mean, I would do that if I thought that there was anything to gain by it. It might make it harder the next time if he's got to sit down and look me in the eye and be nicer to me, and so it might make it harder for him the next time. But it's part of the game.
I feel like politics is like hockey, where you know what, you elbow them in the head, right? You try to take their head off right in the corner.
Yeah.
And then after the game, you shake their hand and you go drink beer together.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It totally is. And you know what? You know
That's
the
so
Bugs,
stupid.
it
No,
is
it's
stupid.
totally fine.
It is
Totally
you know the
fine.
cartoons, the Bugs Bunny cartoons with the
We don't know. We never watched TV when we were kids. We grew up.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Wrong
Okay.
crowd. Wrong. Not the podcast.
All right, so I'm just going to tell you then. So there's a cartoon where
My kids watch it now.
Bugs Bunny?
Not Bugs
Bugs
Bunny.
Bunny.
Let's say
Wile E. Coyote.
yeah, Wile E.
Roadrunner?
Coyote is one of them. Yeah.
So the funny thing is, like, the dog was protecting something, and Wile E. Coyote, of course, he's always trying to get the Roadrunner, and so they're switching shifts, and they punch the clock, and they're arch enemies. And they're like, "Hey, Ralph, have a nice night." He's like, "Yeah, okay, Wiley, you have a nice one too." And it's literally that's what it's like with most people.
Okay, but I feel like it has got worse the last 10 years, where it's gone beyond that, and the other side gets vilified,
Well,
like hard. Like when you
yeah.
have someone like Laurie Thronis, and if you've spent any time with Laurie, that he's just a genuinely good dude that you'd want to spend time with, or
Yeah.
like and actually really cares about a lot of issues,
Yeah.
but just gets raked over the coals for the most basic things. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, what is this? Or is that, you think that's
The
gotten
school
worse or
board,
not?
the school board was an entirely different
Okay.
experience. Entirely. The nice
Worse
thing
than
about
provincial politics?
oh
But
know
he
what?
was he was an MLA when this happened, when he got.
Oh, well, when that happened to him,
Yeah.
when he was an MLA. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like.
Well, that was yeah.
That was his own party. That's a
lousy.
separate issue.
Yeah.
He
well,
got ate by his own to some degree.
No,
yeah, it wasn't the other side doing it to him. It was, of course, they're taking the videos and sharing them and whatnot. But being on a school board and being in provincial politics is the beautiful thing about being in provincial politics is you have colleagues who are like-minded,
You have a
and
whole
you're all on
team.
the same
Yeah, you have a whole
team.
team, yeah.
Whereas on the school board, that I've
A lot of PTSD there, eh?
well, yeah, I needed space from the board. I
Okay.
really needed space. They wanted to have meetings with me, and I said no. And it was almost a year, and I met with David Swanky. He came to Victoria, and I met with him, and I said, David, you know what? I just needed to put some space between myself and the board, and
Just
because
boundaries.
they censured me 3 times in a year and a half. I mean,
Come
for
on.
what? For what?
that's history
Come
making,
on.
right? So, but it's like the constant
Whack-a-mole.
attacking.
Yeah, it does.
And I mean, I've got a pretty core group of haters out there, and I've got pretty thick skin.
You do. It's
But
amazing. I love it. I
but
wish Kyle and I, me anyways, do not have thick skin.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't care.
No?
Yeah.
No. I mean, people are crazy.
Yeah.
So
Well, and the thing about,
Including me.
and the thing about articles in the newspaper and all that last one that the Progress wrote was they wrote the article on that vote based on an email that they got from Ravi Parmar and the NDP, totally vilifying us because you know what? We were flying right over the mark. They knew we were right. And so vilify us and
Never called you for your side of the story, or they did?
Oh no, not when the story was first published.
Okay.
So that's
But-
not journalism, eh? Like if
No,
you're a
it's
if
not.
you're a journalist, you talk to everybody.
No, that's
That's
just
right.
an opinion piece, right? Which
That's
whatever.
right.
Don't sell that as news with an opinion.
No.
Put it in the opinion section.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my son actually wrote on the comments on the Facebook article that she posted, and or that the Progress posted, and said, "Well, that's you didn't even ask for comments. How is this even considered journalism?" And then she contacted me
Nice.
and asked me for comments, and
Nice.
so the one that appeared in the paper had my comments, but everything else was
Yeah.
exactly the same. And so, you know what? But at the end of the day, it's thanks for spelling my name right.
So
Actually, and they didn't. They spelled my name wrong.
uh,
They said Heather Maw quote, and they took the S off. It's like, oh, you didn't
You've
even
been
spell
called.
my name
You've
right.
been called worse by better, Heather.
Yeah, it's true.
okay, so the Conservatives are hopefully there's going to be an election soon if David Eby gets a non-confidence vote against him through this issue regarding the native land.
Right.
I think that's in progress. But
Yeah.
what which I want to get to, but I'm curious more on like what are the issues that the Conservatives would be advocating for and pushing for in BC, because I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that both the left and the right would say, hey, let's focus on this, like the cost of living, like
Yeah.
saying, hey, if I own a piece of land and I paid a mortgage on it for 20 years, that I can't just be like, it's not your land anymore.
Yeah.
Or just like really basic things, freedom of speech. Maybe there's arguments more on that one that it wouldn't be both sides that agree
Yeah.
with that. But but maybe those aren't the issues that necessarily are going to be pushed. Like, what is it that Carrie Lynn Finley is either promoting in her leadership race, or the Conservative Party as a whole, that they would focus on once they got into power?
Well, the biggest issue in the entire province right now is DRIPA, and it's not
Define
it's
DRIPA.
not
Define DRIPA.
it's not just DRIPA. It's also charter, the section 35 of the charter, and right now the whole. Actually, I just saw something the other day, and it said, I think Juno News posted it. They said that 80% of the province has a land claim attached to it. So,
Okay, so there's a lot of listeners that aren't from BC. I am from BC, and I don't really couldn't explain to someone what DRIPA is or Section 35 of the Charter. So, in layman's terms, what are we talking about here?
Okay, so Section 35 of the Charter is that's the Indigenous piece that states that the only Canadians who actually own, well, they don't, I can't remember how it's defined, but it states that Indigenous are the only people who actually have the rights to land in Canada.
That's what it says currently in Section 35.
Yeah,
And
look
it has
up
for a long,
Section 35.
and it has
Gary.
for a long time.
Yes.
Okay.
It's, yeah, that's been there and for, I don't know how long actually. And the DRIPA piece is DRIPA enacts the UNDRIP, which is comes from the United Nations. And so DRIPA enacts that in the province. And that, along with that, the NDP added Section 8.1 of the Interpretation Act that gives Indigenous people the right to oversee, give consent, consultation with any resource projects that are going on in the province. So that's forestry, that's mining, that's water rights, there's a lot. It's
So I'm still pretty confused here. So
I can tell you.
So
I can tell you.
okay.
You want me to tell you?
Okay, so from what I can see so far, there's Section 35 that's been around for a long time.
That's in the charter,
That's
the Canadian charter.
Okay, but that's not necessarily on. That's just on the resources, or is that's on all land can be claimed?
That's all land in Canada, Crown land.
Okay, because this blew up
all land
when a big section of Richmond.
Yeah.
The homeowners were told that have owned it for many years, 20, 30 years, were told, hey, this is now Indigenous land, or is a claim against it. I don't fully understand, and people can't get mortgages anymore, and so.
Well,
Here.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Gary.
I'll give a bit of context. And I mean, I have friends that study this like crazy who listen to this, so they will have a lot more context. But in 2019, the BC government passed a law basically saying, like DRIPA stands for the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, and it's something that the United Nations talks about, and that's what really went awry. All of a sudden, the BC government, in their self-righteousness, said, "Hey, let's do what the UN's doing. Let's, this is I don't want to say virtue signaling because obviously there's been a lot of things that have been done that have been great, but just basically on the land side of it, it's like,
there's zest for Indigenous.
Yes, this whole idea of saying,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to just bring this in line with the UN would do, and when you do that, all of a sudden, of course, that's happening differently all over the world in the different contexts.
And
so
we're the only province in Canada that
aligned,
has enacted,
that aligned it with that.
Yeah, enacted UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration, with DRIPA. We're the only province that's done that.
Okay.
It supports negotiation of land rights, title, and self-governance, which is a huge issue right now.
Yeah.
It encourages agreements between the province and First Nations on how to use land and resources, which there again is a huge issue. You could have one very small band of 20 members holding up a whole pipeline for millions of people in the province. People bring it up because a lot of the land in BC was never covered by treaties. There's huge swaths of land, obviously, that are up for debate. And so now, through DRIPA, the province is trying to deal with land ownership disputes, resource projects, and recognitions of the rights and titles. So, I mean, there again, it's no different than the conversation that you brought up earlier about that bill that the NDP enacted. On one hand, a lot of your colleagues would have supported it. You see a different side of it and think, whoa, this is going to cause some serious problems. And Wisdom is seeing that. And so we're way past this now. Obviously, people, First Nations group have grabbed a hold of it in a pretty crazy way. And there's chunks of land that were in that swath of, there's been no treaty here. And all of a sudden they're laying claim to it. Yeah. And because we have a government in our province that has zero backbone, like all it would have, correct me if I'm wrong, all it would have taken is for Evie and the powers that be to go hard on it and enact legislation and say, let's just be very clear. Anybody that has title to their land right now has title to their land. That will never be questioned. Is it fair to say that?
Well, the charter interferes with that because the charter doesn't give homeowners exclusive rights
because the crown has
owning
it.
Their property.
The crown does actually own the property.
So,
that is true.
Yeah, and so there's the Indigenous piece of that. You know what?
That's something that most people would not understand. That's fascinating that you say that. You learn that in the real estate course.
Yeah.
You really don't own your house anyways.
That's right.
Literally, the government is still just allowing you, which is why. So if you people that have had land expropriated would realize that.
Yeah.
If you own a chunk of land along a busy road and the government arbitrarily decides they're making the road twice as wide, they are taking your land. They will pay for it, but they're expropriating it. You are not stopping a highway through your property for nothing.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
So,
and I mean, the whole issue, I mean, it is not my critic role. And so, but I mean, we've, been learning about the whole thing as we go. But it's very complicated, and a lot smarter people than me are dealing with this stuff. And there's a couple of brilliant lawyers, Jeff Moyse and Tom Isaac, are two Indigenous lawyers who have been traveling around talking about this and giving people warnings about the seriousness and the consequences of this. And actually,
Tom Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the Looney Hour podcast on March 6th if you want to have a listen about this.
Okay.
So for those that care more about this and want to,
yeah,
guys
that's
pretty
good.
bright, and those guys
that's
go
good.
into a deep dive on it.
And I'm actually having a town hall or a forum, whatever, on May 13th, and I'm bringing John Carpe to Chilliwack, and he's going to talk about this. And so he's from the Justice Center of Alberta.
Have we talked about him before on the podcast? I feel like we have. He defended my brother, right? When my brother shot the Easter Bunny and nuked Santa Claus.
Oh.
You didn't know this, did you?
No.
John
John Carpe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, John Carpe and his organization.
Yeah, I feel like we should give context to that.
No, it's fine.
But it's fine. We'll get there another time.
So the forum will be entitled Rights and Freedoms. And so he'll talk about that, and he'll talk about all the stuff going on that's so controversial
because
right now.
EB kind of has backtracked on this DRIPA thing a little bit and said explain that, that's causing some of his own team saying like being upset now.
Right.
Well, it's no different than the thing you were talking about in the Conservative Party, where you have this divide, right? There's people in their party that would believe this hook, line, and sinker and think we should just carry on as we were, and who cares, right? Let the Indigenous people challenge everything. And then, of course, there's property owners in their party that own their mansion in West Vancouver that are like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, and to add to that, he has Joan Phillip, who is an NDP MLA, and she is the wife of Grand Chief Stuart Phillip of the province.
Is she the one that had the knife on her shirt?
No, that's Grace Lore.
Savage.
And so,
sorry, I'm rabbit trailing so bad.
Squirrel. And so
that's Gary's brain. That's this podcast. This is the Squirrel Podcast.
So, but Joan voted in favor of, she's supported motions or bills that the NDP has put forward that her husband, Grand Chief, has opposed vehemently. Ooh. And so, but there was Joan, well, actually, it was her husband who stated in the media that Joan Phillip would not be voting in favor of any amendments to DRIPA. And there's two other Indigenous MLAs in the NDP. And we heard that there was about 10 people who would not support it. And so they yanked it.
Didn't want it to be a confidence motion after all, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's right. He changed that. And
So now no changes happening again.
They're still saying that they're going. You know what? I'll believe it when I see it. So, because he even said he was going to pause DRIPA for 3 years, but I'll believe it when I see it.
It sounds like that couple needs some marriage counseling or the dinner table is pretty interesting there.
No, it's totally fine. It's good to have sparks in the bedroom.
You know what? Joan Phillip is the loveliest lady, and I sit with her on the ferry sometimes coming back. We've done that and had dinner together.
Yeah, I guess you guys would be. Do you not fly to Victoria?
No, I take the ferry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my earlier question was like, what would the Conservatives focus on? So DRIPA is one of them, and
right,
fixing those issues. What else? What were the other issues that are important?
So, well, okay. So we have all of our issues that we ran on initially. that were, get rid of SOGI 123. That was a deal breaker for all of us. Repeal DRIPA. What are some of the other issues? Well, I mean, we have to get the economy going again. So I would think that repealing DRIPA is job one, because that's the only way that you can get the economy rolling again, is by getting all these projects going without
Because it's halting so many projects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. Forestry. I mean, forestry's in crisis. Look at all the mills that are closing,
And that's because of DRIPA?
that part of it is DRIPA. The other part is gross mismanagement.
Yeah.
The other part is clean energy requirements for everything. There's an Indigenous owned company here in Chilliwack that they have all the equipment for a sawmill,
That's Sequoia?
and they're by Townsend Park,
Okay, I'm not sure.
Anyways, yeah.
and they can't get the fiber. They're an Indigenous company. So
How
these
come
are
NDP, it's fascinating to me because NDP has always, at least initially, was started by the workers.
Yeah.
Like really. And of course it's completely lost its way, no different than a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
I think, it's
Look at most churches.
fair enough. But you know what I mean? Like things obviously get way off track over time because different people take over and things
Yeah.
change in the world. But like they're very anti anything resource. And even logging, like they're very much anti, they somehow the green movement snuck in. So now, is there not pushback within their party, even on the front of like people that are, hey, they have great union jobs at mills, and I'm just old enough to remember the '90s, right? It was my childhood, and I can remember all the mills closing down when Glenn Clark was in power, and I'm thinking now we're kind of back to like, hey, we have huge government,
Yeah.
And that was another question I had, and I have another question as well, which we should get to because Kyle starts to get really anxious around the 1 hour mark. Right? He doesn't like long
Start
talk.
twitching.
He starts twitching and just cuts us right off. And says,
I don't
"That's
even
it."
know how long we've been
No,
talking.
we're good. Well, you're just getting warmed up,
Okay.
right? Because you're used to 4-hour
It's all
school,
good.
5-hour school board meetings. But I guess where is the bulk of we're running billions and billions of dollar deficits. I hate that word even now because people don't understand how much a billion is. But where is that spending been coming from in the last 6 years? It obviously would have came initially through COVID, but like what government agencies are spending all this extra money in the last 5 years? Do you know?
Well, I would say all of them.
Okay.
So if you have a problem in a ministry, well, then you just hire more people to fix the problem.
Okay, because it is fascinating because
And
my wife and I are foster parents.
Yes.
And like if there's one area, and there again, this is just my experience. So I deal with government agencies all over, and we get treated really well by the ministry. In Chilliwack, we feel like, there's a great team of people there for the most part.
Yeah.
Especially if you hear stories from further down the valley. It sounds like there's a lot more issues the further you go to the city for various reasons. But right away there, you hear about clamping down on spending. And I mean, just as a foster parent in general, now there again, it's like, you're not doing it for the money per se, but you get paid to look after children in your home to cover their costs. And I would say it more than covers it. Like I don't, we're maybe like a higher level home than others. So maybe we get a bit more. There's varying degrees of that as well. But the very first place you hear it is in that ministry. And those social workers don't get paid that much. Like the people that work there, it's not like those are, exuberantly high paid jobs. And right away they're talking about, hey, we got to cut. Like now, the NDPs is realizing, hey, they got to do something. Our credit score in BC keeps getting downgraded every few months. It's a disaster. 5 times. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
There again, most people don't even understand what that means. They're like, oh, what do you, like, who cares, right? Well, it matters because like we owe billions and billions of dollars. I think we have one of the, per capita, I think we have almost the highest debt in all the country, maybe behind Ontario or some of the Eastern Atlantic provinces. But
per capita, I think we beat Ontario.
Okay. So we're in deep trouble, essentially, right? We're heading like California style. So I'm wondering where would you cut? If the Conservative Party, if we have a new, like, where are we cutting?
Yeah.
Are we cutting a little bit everywhere? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, well, I guess with my limited knowledge of accounting and how that all works, bureaucracy is the biggest expense, I think, that you see so my critic role was Ministry of Children and Families
Okay.
/ the Indigenous piece. And so when we did estimates, and estimates is what you do after they bring down the budget, you go to the minister of the role that you're critiquing and you ask them all the questions about spending in the budget. And so when I did that last year, the first thing I asked them for was a flow chart. I said, is there a flow chart? Can you give me a flow chart of who's in charge of what and the ministries? And it's impossible. That's what we concluded, is it's impossible because there's so many
Levels
layers.
Of bureaucracy. Now it ties into another comment you made, because you talked about and this is kind of, I don't know if this strikes a chord. It concerns me even when I hear a Conservative Party saying, hey, we introduced these new bills. To me, I'm like, we need to start getting rid of bills. If I ever ran for office, like, how do you get rid of bills? Or do we just perpetually have more laws and more legislation and more people that need to understand them? Because that's what it feels like to me as a lay person who's very simple. I'm like, even in my small little sphere of businesses I run, like, and I'm blessed, most of the businesses have almost zero bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But there's starting to be some, especially in farming and agriculture and dairy, right? There's starting to be these, what I would consider complete BS. To me, rules and regulations are not worth the paper they're written on. Good people do the right thing, whether or not there's a rule or not, and shysters look for loopholes, and which begats more like So I'm always thinking, hey, how do we ever as a country and province and municipality get rid of regulation? And we don't seem to. People run on that.
Yeah.
In the US, we had the chainsaw guy, right, who threw the sink out at Twitter. But like in Canada, we don't even have that. Like,
That's right.
Who's going to one day run and say,
Yeah.
and I mean, Pierre Poilievre probably is that. He's a populist, but he would say, hey, we're going to hack and whack somewhere.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to think they're going to be the one that gets hacked and whacked. It's pretty interesting, right?
Right.
Even though that does need to happen. Maybe
Yeah.
we need less MLAs. Maybe in Chilliwack, either you or your co-fellow MLA, one of you is getting whacked, and we're just going to have one because we need to cut costs. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Bingo.
No, because you
would agree with it as long as it wasn't you.
I didn't even know the definition of busy until I took this position.
How is it different than what you expected?
I don't even know what day of the week it is.
Hey, Heather, how does it differ from what you expected? Or what's different about it?
You know what? I didn't know what to expect.
Oh, you didn't?
Nope, I had no idea.
Well, you must have expected something because you agreed to run.
Yeah. Well, I agreed to run because so I was the chair of the nomination committee. And Susan Matthews and I went and wined and dined a whole bunch of people and asked them to run. They all said no.
Didn't talk to me.
Guilty as charged.
I'm sorry.
Guilty as charged. Yeah.
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 And
could you imagine, Heather? It's so awesome that you're there instead of me. It would have been such a disaster. I would have been fired already.
No, Gary, you would have been awesome.
No, it would have been a problem.
I think it was because politics in Chilliwack was so polarized because of the board.
The school board. And
so everybody's like, I'm not touching that. No, thanks. And so I thought, I'm already in the frying pan. Might as well jump in the fire.
Okay.
Let's
go. So connected to that, Kyle and I, we had somebody on recently who was thinking of running for city council. He might not want it mentioned because I can't remember if he does, so I won't say. Okay. But he talked about having political parties at council level.
Ooh.
Do you agree with that?
No.
No, neither do I. Okay, so you and I are...
Not at all. And you know what? It's like school board. School board, municipal...
Doesn't need to be one swath or the other.
It should be nonpartisan. Well, I'm nonpartisan in my riding as well. I mean, but I serve everybody. Yeah. I mean, I don't ask, what stripe they are when they call and say,
awesome,
Fraser
Heather.
Health
People
wants to take
that.
my oxygen, right? It's like, so, but I think, the best example, when I was first elected to the school board, I sat with John Henry Harder, who was a self-declared socialist Marxist. And he and I discovered, as a Christian conservative, we discovered that we actually had far more in common.
Yeah, you both really cared for people. Both really cared for people.
But
totally.
As soon as he brought the union politics in the door to the board table, it all fell apart. And so that's why, as soon as you because looking after people and looking after schools and looking after the best interests of people shouldn't be partisan in any way, shape, or form. And so that applies to school board. That should apply to city council as well. So I know that there's a movement
I'm not
to get the
not a big fan of
Conservatives
it all.
going.
I'm not a big fan of
and-
it all. I don't like the slate
Yeah.
thing.
I
I'm
don't even like it provincially because it just like people just don't even do their research on the individual people. Like
Yeah.
you're running as a person that has, you know, you can't be a swath exactly what the party believes in everything, right? You have your individual
Yeah.
person that votes. And
In a perfect world, we would all be nonpartisan and we would just do the right thing for the right reason.
it's called
But
heaven.
that'll be
Yeah.
the tribulation when Jesus comes back.
We're not going to get into
That'll be the perfect
eschatology,
world.
okay? You're too opinionated, and I'm not educated enough to debate with you. What's the hardest thing you've ever dealt with in your life? What's the most trying time or the hardest thing you've ever had to deal with in your life?
Probably losing my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
That was 16, 17. He died in September 2009.
Okay.
So however long ago that is.
You don't know what day of the week it is. You sure can't do the math.
Yeah. You know what? The longer time goes by, I used to be able to tell you how many years, how many months,
How many days?
he'd been gone, right? And now I struggle to remember how many years. So, you know,
Okay.
it's the passage of time,
Okay.
right? But that was probably
You didn't have young kids anymore at the time then. They would have all been young adults? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But to be all of a sudden, and were you married a long time?
Yeah, we were married for 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'd been through lots of trials and tribulations
Okay.
and weathered them all.
Okay.
Right?
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say to the voters, to your the people that you represent, or the other side?
Call me if you have a problem.
No,
I
don't.
know.
Don't.
No, but that's what we're there for. I call Cindy and Wendy, who work in my office, my weapons of mass destruction.
Is that the one that I talked to at church the other day?
Cindy, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they are pit bulls and they go to bat for people. You know, I visited a lady in her apartment the other day, and
People have tough
it
situations.
was so sad.
tough
It was so
situations, eh?
sad. And her grasp of reality is not great, but she needs somebody to come alongside her and champion her. And so, you know, the stuff that we do in our ridings is far more important, I think, than anything that happens in Victoria. I mean, what happens in Victoria, we're fighters because we're opposition. That's our official job, His Majesty's loyal opposition. And that's what our job is, to oppose, to bring to light, you know, but it's people in the riding that you're looking after and all the issues they've had. And Ministry of Children and Families,
Okay.
you know, grandparents having their
taken
grandchild
away.
yanked away, and just it's so much.
It's so messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why we can't have just one MLA. We have to have two.
She's job security. That's really what this is about.
Well, yeah, right. No.
It's fascinating, I guess, because I think, you know, just on one hand, I sometimes think politicians shouldn't get any money. I think, you know what, it should just be a free thing. You volunteer. On the other hand, I feel like people should be paid a lot more than they are. He'll remain nameless, but he said to me one time when I had ran by him about running for your job that you took, and he said, Gary, trust me, they will not pay you enough. You will not be happy. Which I don't even know how much it's paid. It's irrelevant, really. Obviously, if you do it, you're not doing it for the money.
It's $119 a year.
No, it's more than that.
119.
It's more than that, Heather.
119. 119.
Okay, so it is a problem.
So it's it's
a lot of money to some people, but it's not enough for
it's a
what it
decent
is.
wage, but I'm never off.
No, well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So people don't realize that when you go, hopefully not at church, but it's probably there too, but you go to anywhere in the community, any place, and it's like, Heather, I want to talk about this. And some people, not everybody's unhappy probably, but everybody wants to talk to you because you're a politician. So you go out for a meal and it's like stopping by your table. And so I think it's an amazing, like, I still look at it, even the opposition or, you know, people on the other side of the aisle, or like he jokes about Evie on the holiday, but like, you know, Like these people they're literally, it's a public service thing, and it's
Well,
a
it
big
is.
responsibility. And I
Yeah.
appreciate when people run, even if I completely disagree with them. I think, man, it's
Yeah.
an honor. Like, it's really cool that you're serving. And I think you're a great voice for our community. You're
Thank
you're
you.
definitely not a shill. And I think the person that kind of was like asking me, he said, hey, I just don't know her. And I said, well, look back at the record book in Chilliwack. Like, she was taking arrows for the last 15 years here.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to the bureaucracy thing of, I think that's where all the money is getting spent and wasted. It's not because the MLAs are getting paid $119 or $150, whatever else like that. It's because
manager upon manager of
like
departments.
It's endless, and people are trying to save their own jobs and stuff like that. I remember when there was all these cuts happening a couple of years ago in the U.S. I was talking to some people that worked in government, and they were really upset because they were losing their jobs. Yeah. And I can see that if you're like losing your job and you need to go find a job and stuff like that. But ultimately, that's why our taxes as high as they are, right? Yeah. Like it's insane. I did the math a couple months ago on if I would have made what I made in Florida, what I would make here, and how much more I would save in taxes, and it was $55,000.
It's a bad comparison, Kyle. It's a bad comparison. Why? Because you'd have trillions more in debt, and it's not sustainable what they're doing there. It's a bad comparison. You have to run. If you're going to do math like this, you have to do it in a situation where people are running net zero and you're actually at a balanced budget. And no government has a balanced budget now. So none of the taxes are correct that we're paying. Like, we're still not paying enough tax here. That's what politicians need to actually be candid and say.
No, I don't agree.
You don't agree?
No, I don't agree.
Why is that?
Well, small businesses are getting killed.
Exactly. Like,
of course they are. But what I'm trying to say is, and if I was in power, I would enact a law that you're never allowed to run a deficit. Never.
Yeah, that
boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Like, something has to give. The idea of fictitiously spending, what it does is every single last old person that you senior citizen in our riding is getting crushed on their old age security because of prolific spending at government levels that make people like me and whoever else that owns land or farms or stuff more wealthy. It's criminal. And
they're getting taxed. They've put taxes. I keep catching my arm here. They put taxes on services that seniors, like on their cable, on wool, yarn, like things that there didn't used to be taxes on. Now they put tax because this government has put us in so much debt. They're trying to figure out how they
grab
can
cash
grab money from
exactly. So it is a fair comparison. Like, if you compare it to Florida, like this includes like paying for that like really good medical care. I would have saved $55,000, and for someone who runs a small business is trying to get it off the ground, like it makes a massive difference. Yeah. That's why there's so many businesses leaving Canada or not coming into Canada to spend money, because
capital is fleeing Canada. It is a problem.
You're gonna get completely killed on the taxes side, and that means less jobs. Like, and at some point it won't work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
Anyways, I think that's a wrap. Do you got anything else, Gary?
Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, or you're good?
I think we
covered
lots of ground.
You have been way more relaxed and candid than I thought you would be.
Oh.
So this is awesome.
Awesome.
I mean, I wasn't expecting you to shirk stuff, but I just think, when you're in political office, everything's being listened to.
Did I shirk something?
No, you didn't. I'm just saying I would have if I were you. So that's why you were elected, not me. It's awesome. Yeah. Heather, appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for
having
me to do this.
I'm curious what the left is going to clip. We'll find out. Cheers, guys.
I was going to say something so
Get in here. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.